Hey, welcome back. I just got in a new Avon C50, which would be my fourth one, so I thought we'd open it up and take a look at it here. This is a used mask and it's supposedly in good shape, so we'll open it up here for you, go through it, and examine some of the features and things to look for when you're buying one yourself. So without further ado, let's just open it up and see what we got here. Probably start off first, so this is the issue bag that comes with one of these masks when they're new. It's okay for storing it in, but I wouldn't really rely on it for anything more than that. It's really intended just for storage, not as a carry piece. So you'd have to find another bag if you were going to carry around your mask with you and actually wear it. Well, let's see. We've actually got the mask itself and the instruction book, which is always handy. It's more common with these masks these days that you'll find the manual with them, and it has some basics and recommended procedures with it, as well as maintenance parts and things like that. So it's definitely a plus when you get it with your mask. We'll take a quick look at this one now, and it's a little dirty, but not bad. It'll clean up okay. Got some scuffs and looks like maybe a little bit of paint or some kind of scratch on it, but that's all right. The first thing I would usually look at, which you should be able to see here, is that the date on it is 2012, which means it's about 9 years old right now, give or take. Depending on the mask, they can recommend a 10 or 20 year shelf life on them, and you'll probably find a lot of these Avon ones out there now as they're getting close to that 10-year mark on some that were early manufactured C50s. But on the other hand, I don't think they've really done a lot of study or research on exactly when a gas mask goes bad. Is it safe at 9 years and 364 days and no good at exactly 10 years? Well, probably not. So they have them as recommendations for shelf life. And for example, I would not trust any 50-year-old mask to be any good anymore. One that's 10 or 11 years old is probably fine. Of course, you won't have that problem if you're buying new, but a new one is probably at least 3 or 4 times the price of a used one, so there is that to consider. And let's see, some other things I noticed right away is that this one did not have the protective cover over the mask lens. That's a feature you want to have. Let me grab one here. This is the lens cover that's standard to both the Avon M50 series and the C50 series, and the military's M50 masks, and you can find these in both clear, tinted, and there's a green laser protective one also. It's a good idea to have these so that you don't scratch up the actual lens of your mask. And one thing to watch out for on these days though is there are a lot of fake ones because the originals are fairly pricey, so you will find people charging full price for these that aren't actually real and are intended for airsoft, non-protective versions of the mask and things like that. So know your product and know your seller. There's videos on YouTube by other content makers about these face shields, outserts, so might want to check one of those out, and if I can, I'll link to one here. And there was no filter either, which is not a big problem. It probably would have been expired and useless anyway, so that's not a concern. But the C50 series masks take the standard 40mm NATO filters, which are one of the advantages over the US military's M50 mask. The M50 has a double set of cheek filters that are proprietary to the mask, and Those are very pricey and relatively difficult to obtain, where there are any number of sources where you can get these standard 40mm screw-in canisters. This one happens to be one of several produced by an Italian company called C50 that is fully CBRN rated, and it has the ratings and protective level against different types of agents are printed right on them, and they come with a sheet also that describes the details of the protection it offers, and more importantly doesn't. You can find these Mestel ones in both metal and plastic canister versions, spec'd on however the user decides it. Here, for example, is a plastic black version of the same Mestel filter. The ratings are the same and the insides are the same, but the filter itself is actually a little bit bigger. This is a new unused one with a 2025 expiration date on it. Those are part of my stash for any time I was actually planning on using it and expecting to face a live agent. Alright, so we covered it is missing the filter and the lens cover, but the rest of the drinking tube is intact. Got the plug on this side, the open port, the inlet valve cover is there, that's good. Flip it over and look at the back. The head harness is intact, and I said there's no broken, damaged, or missing parts on the harness. Nothing frayed or torn or anything like that. That's something you all want to check also. This mask does have one thing that I would consider a defect, and that was from the way it was stored. So let's fold the harness over the front here so we can get a better look at it. If you look at it straight on, you can see right where my thumb is here, this mask is dished in on the side. That's from the way it was stored, compressed in its bag there, and over time it has distorted it. And that could be a problem as far as getting a good seal with a mask when you want to actually use it. The distortion of the shape is not too awful on this one. It'll probably still fit and clear okay, but that's something you want to watch on these. And that's why one other thing that was missing in here that's usually a very good thing to have is this plastic face form. This piece of clear plastic, there's an indent that goes in the chin, and then the rest of the plastic shape helps the mask retain its shape while it's in storage. And these are usually sold with it. This particular one did not have one. I have several, as I already noted, and I was planning on giving one to somebody else soon, but I'm going to give her one that's probably in better condition than this one, and a much nicer piece. And we'll take that off now. This is a size medium, as we can see from the stamp on the front there. And it's a good overall size if you were just guessing and didn't have any to play around with first. Medium is a good choice for size, as probably over 80% of the people can wear a medium with no problem. I have a freakishly large head, and I usually wear a large, but I can seal a medium effectively, and it would work, but I feel more comfortable with a large mask. We'll show you why when I try this one on in a little while. The rubber is in good condition otherwise. There's no place where it's torn or totally folded over itself. Just that area on this side where it's been dished in. Store it again in the face form going forward, and that should return to its natural shape. But I have seen some masks in the past that have been badly crushed, and those are both difficult to get back in shape and get a good seal with. I would consider this one's issue as far as that being misshapen fairly minor, and with some care going forward it should be fine. But we'll clean this one up, and get it in a face form and store it properly. Add in a few other accessories. I checked the inlet outlet valves and the drinking tube all appear in good shape also. The valves are a good thing to have as a spare part because they are something that can curl or distort or get torn. So that's a good thing to have a spare on, because without the inlet and outlet valves in position on the mask, it's totally useless. You won't get any protection at all, especially if the outlet valve is not working properly. When you breathe in, the inlet valve opens and lets air come in through the filter. And when you exhale, it closes and the outlet valve opens to let your air out. So they're both one-way valves, and they're a key part of the protective system, so it's good to keep a few spares of those. They're a little hard to find, but you can find them out there. So in a minute, we'll come back and we'll try this mask on, put a filter with it. Before I clean this up and stow it away properly with the face form insert, to get rid of that dish, I thought we'd give it a little test here. So I've installed the protective outsert and put a usable filter on it. So let's get it on and see how it works. Passed the negative pressure test okay. So we have a good seal. So it looks like with some TLC and proper stowage, this will be a good serviceable mask again. The voice meter does vibrate a little, especially the longer you keep talking. That can be annoying when you're wearing a gas mask. It's already hard enough for people to hear and understand you. That just seems to be a quirk of this type of mask. As I mentioned, this is a medium, and well, as I just demonstrated, I can seal and wear it. Especially up here in the eye area. The edge of my eye is fairly close to the edge of this seal up here. So the mask is a little bit small on me, even though it fits okay in other places. That's why I prefer a large. If you have places like that up here, it's easier to break the seal accidentally, which is obviously not something you want to do in a contaminated environment. Other than that, I think with some TLC, this mask is good to go. Although, like I said, I'm still going to give another basically mint condition mask to my friend. I want her to have the best. And while this mask is still perfectly fine, I've got others that are even better condition, so I'll give one of those to her. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.